Hello, David. It's Robert from South Wales in the UK. How are you?
I'm great. Happy
Good.
to talk to you. I'm
Brilliant.
here. I'm David Beclear, and I'm here on a little Mediterranean island where I
Yeah.
grew up.
Brilliant. So tell us about that. You don't have to if you don't want to, but where are you in this greater wonderful world? Where are you to? Which country do you live in?
I live in Spain,
Wow, yeah,
so
brilliant.
that's where I live. I grew up here. I've been here ever since I was like 3 years old.
Yeah,
So yeah, my parents met in India. They are German.
yeah,
Then they went back to Germany, and I grew up for a few months. I was living like in a goat stable
yeah.
that my dad had rented from a farmer somewhere in southern Germany. Then a little time after that, that was like in the early 80s.
Hmm.
And the thing that happened is that Chernobyl exploded, and that brought in the news were full of the toxic rain that was coming from Ukraine over to Germany.
Yeah,
And my mom freaked out, and yeah, she said, we've got to go.
yeah,
And we went as far as we could, which was Portugal.
yeah,
If you just keep heading west, you eventually end up in Portugal. But over there, no one wanted us, so they rejected the visa application back then. And so we did the next best thing, which is head over to Spain. And from there, apparently my parents thought that it would be safer to be on an island. And then we ended up on the biggest of the Balearic Islands.
brilliant, brilliant.
And that's where I'm living.
No, that's brilliant. I was introduced to yourself, David, by a friend of mine, Ciaran Lane, who is a massive, massive fan of yours. So just wanted to give him a big shout out. Before I was introduced to you a few days ago, I hadn't read much of your work, but I'm really excited with the stuff that I have read. Just taking it back to the very first stages of you joining Medium, I know that you joined back in October 2019, so some time ago, and an incredible following, over 25,000 followers. That's absolutely amazing. Can I ask, my first question is, why did you join Medium? What was the thought process of joining Medium back then?
Back then it was, I just came back from a trip with my wife. So we had spent like a year and a half traveling around Asia, Southeast Asia and Southern Asia. So we visited a couple of countries, and it was a 18-month trip.
Wow.
And then so it ended, and then we got back here to Spain, and I was looking to make money somehow on the internet, because my plan was to continue traveling.
Yeah.
And the whole pandemic and everything happened, so that was put on hold. But I was looking for some way to earn money online, and I was always interested in doing some blogging, and I was considering creating my own blog and everything. But then I don't even remember how I came across Medium. I think I was researching some math-related stuff for my PhD thesis, which I had done earlier before the trip. And I kept running into Medium. And then I read a little bit about it. I didn't even realize that anyone could write there. And then I read a little bit about it, and then I said, oh, maybe that's much easier than creating my own blog. And I just created an account, published something, and I got a little bit of feedback. Someone read it and left a comment, and then I was hooked.
Yeah, no, brilliant. I mean, just going on to the wonderful articles that you write, there's a, what do you call, I don't know, I call them cartoons, or whether that would be offensive, but you have a lot of pictures, cartoons,
Yeah, I call them cartoons.
Cartoons,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Do you do those yourself? Does somebody do them for you? I mean,
I do
seems
them
to be
all
a lot of
myself.
work put in. Wow.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do them all myself. I've got here my iPad. I've got a pencil, an Apple Pencil,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's basically what I use.
So you draw them yourself?
Yes.
Wow. I'm gobsmacked. I mean, that's just, I mean, just in itself, that's an absolute art, let alone be a fantastic writer as well, I guess. My experience, my son does a lot of drawing. I wouldn't say he's a particularly good writer. I'd probably say that I'm a better writer than him, but I draw a stick man, and that's me done. I'm not an artist, that's for sure. So so. Where did you come up with the concept? Have you always been interested in cartoons? Is it something that you kind of went into after joining Medium? What's the background to the cartoons?
Well, when I did some writing with cartoons already when I was a child.
Okay.
So when I was maybe 12 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I just wrote some silly stories and illustrated them. And eventually when I got hooked on video games and school, then I had to do school and college and everything, and I forgot all about that. But then when I got back to writing more creatively, then I remembered what I did back then as a child, and I said, well, just give it a go. Also, I noticed that back then, at least, I couldn't find anyone else doing it, so I thought it's maybe a good way to stand out a bit and get some traction, and I think it worked.
I've only seen one other person do something similar, maybe. David.
Milgram, maybe.
Sorry,
there's one guy called David Milgram, I think, who does something similar. Then there's,
I think it is, but he's good. He does things slightly different to yourself, but that's good. Now, the stories that I've read, or the articles I've read so far, well, they do seem to be stories. They seem to involve your wife. Do you do a lot? Do you do a lot of family-related stories, or is that just the ones that I've come across so far?
Well, from my life, it's usually because I do two things. I do stories with illustrations, and I do comics, which are like humorous comics.
Yeah.
And the humorous comics, they usually involve my wife or things out of my life. Although sometimes it's also I'm just playing some role in it. So my main character, that's it's like a caricature of myself. It's like a like an over-the-top version of myself.
Yeah.
And so in the comics, it's usually me and things I get inspired from in my real life. And when it comes to writing, when I'm actually writing something, I'm usually trying to convey some message or teach something. So I have a publication where I write more sciencey explainers. It's called I Wanna Know.
I looked at it I actually looked at it for about 10 minutes before I come on. Very, very good. But that's, you only write on that publication yourself, is that right?
Yeah, so it's only me. It's only me. And then I also have like a column with the Writing Cooperative. So every 2 weeks I publish something with them. So that's usually an essay on writing, also illustrated with a little bit of humor also.
David, can I ask you about that? Because I've recently started writing for the Writing Cooperative, just as a writer, just send some stuff into them, and they've been very, very good to me. So I actually went onto the Writing Cooperative again. That was yesterday, I think. I couldn't actually find your column, but when I clicked on some of your stories, it took me to the Writing Cooperative. So for any watchers out there now who want to go look at your column on the Writing Cooperative, how can they find it?
It used to work a different way, but nowadays it's like it's all organized through a tag. So my column is called Oh So Clear, and I'm not sure what the URL is, but it's something like the Writing Coop, I think .com/tagged /O-so-clear, something like that. Or you can just click on any of my writing related stories that I have published with the Writing Cooperative.
Yeah.
And at the very top, there's like what's it called? It's not a headline.
I did see it's like highlighted, isn't it?
Yeah, the kicker.
I did.
It's called the
Yeah,
kicker. Yeah,
that's
the
right,
kicker.
yeah.
And if you click on the kicker, which reads "Oh So Clear," then it takes you to the page where all my articles for the writing cooperative are. And I also think they have a page where they list all the columns they have. So
Well,
there should be a link somewhere.
what I'll do, if it's okay with you, when I put this video out on YouTube, I'll link some of your articles below for some of our watchers and readers to actually click on your articles and click through and have a look at some of them, because they're absolutely fantastic. What does your wife think of you as an artist and what you're producing, the content you're producing?
Well,
Is she fully supportive? Does she like it? Does she think it's
Yeah.
silly? Kind of what sort of
well,
feedback
she's
do you get from
definitely
her?
supportive because she's the one earning the money that keeps us afloat. Because it's definitely not me. So she's supporting me.
Yeah.
Not only like with like morally or like but also like financially, because there's no other way of doing this. Either you have another job or you have someone you can rely on.
Yeah.
That's my
sure.
situation currently.
Mhm.
And she's from Bolivia, so she speaks
I read that.
Spanish.
Yeah.
She speaks English, but like it's not like not perfectly.
Mhm.
So she doesn't usually read my stuff,
Mhm.
which is totally fine because I don't feel like she has to. But whenever I tell her what I wrote or when I show her the comics, she loves my comics. That whenever I show her my comics, she laughs and she loves them. And the writing itself, well, if I tell her what it's about, then she listens, interested. She's interested in it, but she doesn't actually read it.
No.
Like,
how long does it take for you to write an article for the Writing Cooperative? So if you sat down and you think, right, I'm going to write something now. Obviously, you've got an idea. I'll come on to your ideas in a moment. But from start to finish, what's your process of writing, and what sort of length of time does it take you to write for the Writing Cooperative?
Okay, if I have the idea already and just the writing part and the drawing part, because I also do the drawings. So it can vary a little bit, but I think it's at least 6 hours.
Wow.
And I'm very slow writing, so I'm not cannot just crank something out. So it takes me a long time. So I'd say it's usually between 6 and 10 hours.
It's interesting. One of the articles I read was about consistency, and you were saying about, you said that I can't tell you whether you should write 2 articles a month or 2 articles a week. I think it was a more recent one of yours. And it's interesting because taking you 6 hours, I mean that is a full-time job, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It is really, yeah, absolutely. So how do you come up with your ideas? Where do they come from? I know some of them are real life and you may put a little twist on it.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to be fictional, I guess. And like you said, you help writers as well through some of your storytelling and through some of your articles. But where else do you get your inspiration from? How do you think of these concepts?
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking you the question is I'm trying to think of the people who are watching, who are struggling on Medium, who are thinking, where do I get my ideas from? So one of the things I'm trying to home in on is, how do you find creativity with the things that you write?
Yeah, I think, or at least for me, I just need a lot of input. So if I'm blocked, if I don't know what to write, all I have to do is just start reading. And I just have to keep reading. And eventually I come up with something. So a response or something. And then or an idea or like someone mentions an idea in some article. And I think, oh yeah, that's a cool thing that could be expanded in something bigger. And that I could apply my own style to it, like with the humor and the drawings and everything. So it's usually a lot of reading.
Yeah.
Or also podcasts, but not so much anymore. Right. I relied more on podcasts early on, but I find that they are not as well, if you're busy with something else, that's great. But like the throughput, the amount of information you get per let's say per minute, reading is a lot higher than through a podcast. So I prefer relying on reading, and it's usually I don't read that much on Medium itself. I'm still using an RSS reader, and I'm also subscribed to newsletters and so on. So I'm usually reading content that I find on RSS, so in my feed, in my RSS reader, or that I read in my email inbox through newsletters, or just Google searches. And yeah, it's a lot of reading, and eventually I come up with something. Sometimes it takes me like a whole day of reading. Yeah. So and I cannot come up with anything, and maybe sometimes even 2 days. And I also, whenever I come up with an idea, I write it down. So I've got a file where I have written down all the ideas. It's got hundreds of ideas, but even though I have a lot of ideas written down that I could write potentially, I don't know why, but I usually look for something new that I have not written down yet. I don't know, it's like the novelty thing because I'm most inspired to write about something when I just stumbled across it. So if I just found something I hadn't thought about before, or something occurs to me that I could write about, and if I start writing at that moment, that's great. But if I just write it down for later, then I don't know, it's like the inspiration has gone. I'm no longer that interested in writing about that.
Do you get writer's block?
Yeah, I do, but well, the thing is, I think the term writer's block is problematic, because I don't think I prefer the term. I think it's Clive. What's his name? Clive Thompson or something like that. He coined the term, like, I think it's reporter's block. And the thing is, you're not blocked because you're usually blocked because you're lacking input. So if you just get in front of a blank page and nothing occurs to you, the solution is what I said. And
I see what you're saying. Because you can actually write, is you can't think is the problem.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Repeat?
I said, so I think what you're saying is basically it's not writer's block, because you can still write, but you can't think of what to write.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and you could write something. I mean, it's not as if I couldn't write something. You can always write something, whatever. But the problem is not that much that you're blocked, that you're unable to write anything. It's more like you've got either reporter's block because you don't have any interesting ideas to write about, and you don't have anything that inspires you. Or the other thing is what I call, I'm not sure if I came up with it or I read it somewhere, but it's a perfectionist block. That you're trying to write something perfect or something very good, and you're blocked because your standards are too high. Because just writing sentences is easy. If you don't care about the quality at all. But if you care about the quality, then you're often blocked because you're trying to write something that's great from the start. And I suffer from that too.
Yeah, I don't think you came up with that concept. I think another guy did, called Robert Ralph. He's a genius. I think he came up with that concept.
Ah, great. Never heard of him.
Great. It would be rude for me not to ask. Have you got a favorite comic? And what
favorite comic that I read?
Yeah.
Or that I did myself?
That you read.
Okay. Well, I do like Calvin and Hobbes. Okay. So that's a classic. Yeah. Then there's another one. It's not exactly comic, but it's similar to what I do. And I don't think she's blogging anymore, but her name is Ali Brosh. Okay. And you've probably seen a meme of hers because one of her comics or one of her illustrations has been turned into a meme. It's I'm sure you've seen it. It's one where you see like she does some funny drawings with of herself also. So I find she's a great inspiration. Sadly, she's no longer blogging, but and she started, or she was popular, like, I don't know, a long time ago, like over a decade ago.
Sure.
And yeah, her blog is called Hyperbole and a Half.
Okay. I will. I'll find it and I'll link it in the description below as well, because
it's an old blog, so it looks old, but
the
really
content's
funny.
good.
The content's great. Yeah, it's great.
Good. So talking about your followers, I mean, you've got a lot. 25,000 is what I looked at, and that's huge.
Less. I think it's 23 right now.
Okay, something like that. But I mean, hey, let's not split hairs. It's couple either way. I mean, it's still an incredible amount. One of the things that some of the Medium writers are frustrated about is, let's say you've got 20,000 plus followers and you write an article or a comic, and we both know that 20,000 followers don't get to see your content. How frustrating is that for you?
Well, it is a bit frustrating, but I don't think followers mean anything at all. These days on Medium. I think what actually starts mattering is how many people subscribe to you via email, because those people usually they show up. So if you publish something and you've got, like, let's say 100 subscribers via email, they'll probably, maybe not every one of them, but most of them will eventually show up and see your story. So, and someone with, like me, I don't know, I've got 23,000 followers.
Right. Yeah.
But email subscribers, I don't know how many exactly I have, but it's a few hundred. So, like, it's just a few hundred people I can rely on, and I can actually call, like, they are my audience, and those are the people who are getting my articles via email. Because everyone else, just, I don't know, I don't even know how exactly it works, because 23,000 people and you publish something, and I still sometimes I publish a comic and I get maybe, I don't know, 100 views or 200. So it's not even 1% of the people who see what you publish. So,
no, I agree. It's been a hot topic with some of the writers that I've spoken to. I mean, the things that you wrote recently, you seem to get very good traction on them. At least I certainly think so. There's been probably between 2,500 and 4,500 claps, and easily 30-40 comments. And for a writer like myself with a small following, that I'd love that sort of traction. So, but I guess if you've been on there for a long time, maybe you think nothing of that at this stage. But for me, that would be brilliant.
But there's one thing I want to say about that, because usually I get a lot of claps and comments on stuff I write for other writers, because there's a huge difference in writing for non-writers or for writers. Writers tend to clap and to comment. Like, the general audience usually doesn't do that as much. So I have some stories that have a lot more views, but far less claps and comments. And so you cannot really gauge how popular a story is just by the claps and the number of comments. Because as I say, if it's written for other writers, it will tend to get a lot more claps and comments than if it's written for, I don't know, for other people, like for non-writers. So that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. But I just paused for a second because I had a little think about my screen to say I've got 5 minutes left. If it does cut off, well, it probably will before I finishes. Is it okay if I send you a link to come back on, or sure. For time? You are okay. So if it cuts off, or when it cuts off, I'll send you another link. We'll come straight back on. Okay.
Via email, or is there some way you can send?
By email, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Right. What did I ask? I asked about subscribers, didn't I? Subscribers and followers. Because of that on my screen, I've completely lost my trail of thought. I mean, you mentioned about subscribers via email, and I certainly agree. with what you said, that I guess they're your hardcore following to a degree. Do you ever use those email lists offline or not?
I'm not sure I understand. What do you mean by offline?
So let's say you have 200 email subscribers via
Yes.
Medium. I'm sure you already know this. You can download those and
Yeah.
put them into a mailing list. Do you have many mailing lists that you send out?
I do have so I've got my own email list, which is not connected to Medium.
Okay.
I use ConvertKit for that. I also used to be on Substack, but I moved over to ConvertKit because it allows you to do some things that you cannot do with Substack.
That's really interesting. Oh, go on. Go on, sorry.
Yeah. And what I do with my Medium subscribers, I just download the list every few weeks or a couple of months as a backup in case something happens.
Yeah.
But that's all. I don't. Yeah, I have a separate. I don't even treat it as my list. It's not like I just write my stories on Medium and I click the little checkbox which says send it out to your email subscribers.
Yeah.
That's all I do, and I don't write anything specifically for them. I just write for a general Medium audience, and I just know that some people will get notified by email and others will supposedly see my stories within the Medium feed, or maybe they have I don't even know if they have a notification bubble or anything. I don't think so.
So the Medium Partner Program, obviously we're a part of that, and Medium introduced back September last year, I think it was, where you get referred membership. How's that been going for you? And let me ask you about the tipping program they've got as well. Is the tip program gone okay for you? And what about the introducing memberships? Is this a good thing that Medium's introduced or not?
I mean, I think it's nice that they have it, but I honestly don't think it makes a real difference. At least for someone like me. I mean, I've got referred members, I don't know, a dozen or maybe 2 dozen, so maybe at most, and that's not a lot of money. You cannot rely on that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and the tipping thing, the thing is, people don't tip. They usually really don't. So I mean, they tip lots of people, like waiters or the guy who delivers a pizza, but they are used. I don't even know exactly why, but they don't tip. No, it's just not the thing to tip people online. And so very, very few people do that. So
yeah, I thought it was an interesting concept because I agree with you. I think I've tipped one person, but I definitely agree with you. I guess it's more something you do if you went to a restaurant or something. What I wish they did is possibly for the people that can't earn money on Medium, who can't join the Medium Partner Program, maybe if they'd set it up for just those people, so they could earn something even from a tip. But I'm just interested in the concept, because I found it to be a little bit weird, really. It's not a sort of concept, like you said, not the sort of concept that you'd expect to have online.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want them to remove it, because there are some people who want to support artists, or they're super fans of someone and they want to support them, and that's great. But it's just like a teeny tiny thing that, I mean, it's just, I'd say like out of 10,000, maybe one person gives a tip. I mean, it's not something you can rely on.
Just keeping on the Medium theme, and there's been some changes recently, cosmetic changes really, with the editing toolbox, and your setting section looks slightly different now. From when you started on Medium to how it is today, in your view, has Medium got better, got worse? Is it different? You've seen a lot of changes over the past couple of years. What's your thought on the changes?
I mean, lots of things have changed. So, like visually, I preferred it like it was like 2 years ago or something like that. because to me it now looks much more cluttered than it used to. So you've got your story, and then you've got like links to lots of other stories from other writers, and it's just not it doesn't look as clean as it used to. So back in the day when I started, you went to a story from someone and you just had the story. There wasn't anything else, except then at the bottom you had the comments and the clapping button and other stories. But while you were reading the story, there wasn't anything else. There was no distraction or anything. I mean, I understand why they do it, because it's like they wanted to keep people within the Medium network. So when they read something, they click to another story, and to just keep them like moving around within the Medium environment. But I don't like it that much, because I like the clean look, the non-cluttered look. And then there are lots of other changes they did, trying different things. I mean, like when there was a time where they put a lot of they tried to control a lot, like manually, on what's popular. So they getting featured by Medium 2 years ago, that was a huge thing, because if you got featured by Medium, your story was guaranteed to take off. So you could make thousands of dollars from one story if it was featured. These days, I don't even know. I mean, you can still get a story featured, but I think the effect is much smaller. And they seem to rely a lot more on algorithms than on manual curation. So, and I don't think they've gotten I don't know, I'm not sure, maybe... What? Yeah, I have doubts that they've got the algorithm right. So,
why do you think they changed it? Because it was so good before. And a lot of writers are saying that we prefer it the other way. And why?
Well, it wasn't good for everyone. So that's one thing I would also say, because are you familiar with the concept of the Matthew effect, like from the Bible, Matthew? So it's a sentence. It's like the aphorism that goes something like, "The rich get richer, and the poor get poorer."
Poor get poorer. Yeah.
So that's that's a thing that happens wherever there's a popularity contest. You have the Matthew effect, and the rich get richer. And this used to be, in my opinion, it used to be quite strong, that effect on Medium. So if you were already an established writer on Medium, you were almost settled. I mean, your stories were, I mean, back then people earned thousands from, but this was just a tiny minority. So it's like the income distribution. So it was just, there were very few people who made a lot of money, and most other people didn't make anything almost. And now I feel like they tried to squash the distribution so that it's wider, and so that the same amount of money is distributed among more writers. That's at least the feeling I have. Because I know lots of writers used to be really big on Medium. They left because their income plummeted. And sure, it could be because maybe people are no longer interested in them, and there are newcomers who are now replacing them. So back in the day, I think like Medium tried to control a lot what would become popular on the platform. And I think they do that to a much lesser extent these days. And this is also related to something called the Matthew effect, which is the phenomenon that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And the thing is, they used to publish statistics on Medium. They told you what percentage of people earn more than $100 a month.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Oh, they did that. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and it was usually around 6%. That means that 94% of writers on Medium earned less than $100. Okay. So 94% earned less than $100 back then. That was like 2 years ago.
Wow.
And then there were some big earners. There were people who earned in a month maybe like $50,000. So you can see the income distribution was like, there was a teeny tiny minority who basically took in all the money, while the probably like 99% didn't even earn like $500. So if 90,
incredible.
yeah. So most people didn't earn much at all, and just a teeny tiny minority earned a lot. And I think my feeling is that because they stopped publishing those statistics, and you could see over time how that percentage of people who earned more than $100. I mean, I remember it starting with 8%, and then eventually I think it dropped all the way down to 6%. So there was a teeny tiny minority, and they were like getting richer and richer. That's what the Matthew effect is all about. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer.
So where do those writers go? Because if you're earning that sort of money, that obviously well done for doing that, but you've lost a lot of money. Do you know where do they go? Are they getting that money elsewhere, or are they,
Well, I know some people, some of the big earners created Substack publications, and I know others rely on selling courses. Some went into, I mean, I know some are trying to get popular on LinkedIn, or even are popular there. So, and then they are on LinkedIn because apparently there they get more traction, and they can funnel people into their newsletters and then try to sell them something there. Like, so it's like, it's more the old school way of making money online as a writer. So you have your free stuff, you try to put to get people into your newsletter, and then you offer courses or guides or whatever you can come up with. So I think a lot of them did this. And I also, I know some people who also created podcasts. So I don't know, everyone is trying different things, I guess.
So